6:30, I'll call a meeting to order.
Hang on 1 second. Sorry.
Recording in progress.
Okay.
First up, modifications and changes. And we'll move on to public comment. Is there anybody here from the public tonight? We all have agenda items. All right. Review and approval for minutes October 25th. Feel good? All right. If there's no errors or omissions, I will hear a motion to accept them.
Accepted.
Leonard has the first, or a second. Eli with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay.
I really did read them.
All right. Trout Brook Dam discussion.
Good discussion.
I'm just gonna say sitting unless you let this stand.
That's no problem.
Good evening. I'm Lauren Weston. I'm the district manager for the Franklin County Natural Resources Conservation District. I've got Karina Daly from the Vermont Natural Resources Council over here, and this is Ben Matthews from the
Nature
yes. I was like, where does Vermont go in that? Nature Conservancy Vermont.
Yep.
And we're here to talk about the Trout Brook Reservoir Dam. The Franklin County Natural Resources Conservation District does a number of things in Franklin County, including working with farmers, which is why I'm covered in dirt right now. We do a lot of stream restoration projects. We have done a dam removal in Bakersfield on the Johnson's Mill Dam last year. We just do a number of things in the county for natural resources, and so one of the things that we've been doing this year was looking at 27 dams in Franklin County, and we went and visited 7 of them just to kind of see the status of various dams. And one of the ones that we thought might be of interest to look into further was the Trout Brook Reservoir Dam, which is why we're here tonight. We understand that the village of Enosburg Falls owns the dam, though the dam is actually in Berkshire. And you have some of your water supply wells around the dam. And so we are just here tonight to see if you all would be interested in learning more about the dam, having us hire an engineer to learn more about the dam, with the possibility of potential removal if that was proven to be the best course of action based on our findings. And so we visited the site twice with Gary, and John actually came to one of those as well, with a number of partners who are involved in this type of thing. And with that introduction, I'm going to toss it over to Karina Daly.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Karina Daly. I'm a restoration ecologist with Vermont Natural Resources Council, and part of my job is to manage the derelict dam removal program for Vermont Natural Resources Council. And in doing that, I work with federal, state, and local partners to identify dams and prioritize them for removal for ecological benefit. And I guess we're all here today because we received funding through the Lake Champlain Basin program to look for dams, identify dams in the Missisquoi River or along the Missisquoi for potential removal. And so I worked with Franklin County Conservation District to come up with a list of dams, and then she did great work ground truthing, and one of the dams that was brought to our attention was this abandoned dam, Trout Brook Reservoir. So big picture, Lake Champlain is in trouble. Climate change is happening, and we are looking, and Vermont has cold water streams historically. For the past 10,000 years, those streams flowed from headwaters on the Missisquoi all the way down to Lake Champlain. In the past 200 years, dams served a very important purpose, and they still do it in many towns for hydropower. But some of those dams are abandoned and no longer being used. There's better forms of water supply for the, and so Trout Brook is one of those dams that is no longer used. So those dams, sometimes they can be repurposed for hydropower. Many times they can't because they don't have the hydraulic head to provide hydropower. So those are the dams we're looking to take out, the low-hanging fruit dams where the benefit of removal, both for aquatic organism passage, water quality, sediment transport, and public safety far outweighs the benefit of leaving that dam in. And I guess Lawrence gave you this awesome information packet. I just want to turn your attention to that, and I have copies more. But at the very, let's see what page it is. This how a dam affects a river. You guys see that handout? It's towards the back of the document. I just wanted to show you that because I think it's a really good visual on what a dam does to a river, especially a cold water river that those are what Vermont's known for. But if you see, the upper picture shows a free-flowing river. So all of the water moves from the headwaters down to the source. Sediment moves down the river. Organisms, including fish, move up and down. It creates oxygen, it creates cold temperature. When you put a dam in a river system like that, that river turns into a lake behind the dam, into a pond. It impounds sediment, so all that sediment can't get downstream. All the nutrients, all the organisms can't move up and down the river. So that's great if you want a lake, and I know people love their lakes, and I love my lakes, and in Vermont there's not a lot of natural lakes, so we need some lakes for different reasons. But when we can take out that dam and restore the river, that ultimately helps the whole connection of the watershed. And that watershed has been functioning like that for historically a very long time. I know that in like recent history, we've had those dams and we rely on them and we need to maintain them in many areas. But so I just wanted to show you that picture. And what happens when you have a lake system is the temperature warms up behind the dam and you have different species. So you have warm water fish species versus cold water fish species. You have different vegetation that grows. So it's a very different system and you're changing that ecosystem with that man-made barrier. So with that, I just wanted to educate you a little bit about dams and derelict dams and what our work is up to. And I'll pass it over to Ben.
Thanks.
For a little chair.
So I'm Ben Matthews. I'm a river restoration coordinator with the Nature Conservancy in Vermont. And I'm tasked with looking for projects across the state that we can do river restoration, and mostly looking for places we can remove dams and restore these conditions that Karina was talking about. For this specific project, the reason that we were attracted to it is because it doesn't currently have a purpose. That dam isn't doing anything other than holding that back. And it's a really good opportunity to try to restore all those functions that Karina was talking about. But the way that we want to do this, we're not asking you guys to make a decision today to remove that dam. We want to get more information. When we talked with the water district manager, he indicated there might be some concerns about taking this dam out. Sorry, I didn't see it. That there might be some concerns taking the dam out that might affect the well pressure head. And so those are the things that we want to look into now with a first phase. So typically we think of dam removals in terms of 3 phases. The first one is our information gathering and our feasibility assessment, which is what we're talking about now. Then once we get those results and decide the best path forward, we go through a full final design process. So we're not just giving all of our money to the engineers right off the bat. And then once we have those final designs, that process usually has several back and forths with all of the stakeholders involved, so that you can get your concerns understood and we can design specifically the project to whatever, so we'll meet everybody's needs. And then once that's all done, everybody gets to sign off on that and say we're good to go, and then we would actually go forward with the construction aspect of it. So today what we're asking is if you guys would be interested in having us fund that feasibility portion of it so that we can get more information on what's going on at that site, see if there's any concerns that need to be addressed other than the ones that have daylighted already. You know, you can tell us those today, and invite you into that process as well as we develop the scope of work and find an engineer to do that. We want to make sure that all of your concerns are addressed in that process. So that's essentially what we're after, is to say, you know, is this something you're interested in? We'd be willing to put the time and the energy and the money into doing that, but we don't want to go down that road if this is just a non-starter for you, because there's other places that we can spend that energy. And if you want to wrap it up, or?
Yeah, so at this point, we're just interested if you guys are interested and have any questions for us. And if you'd like us to come back again another time, we'd also be very happy to do so. These things don't move fast. So however long it takes is however long it takes.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So, will this dam removal be beneficial in bringing some of the brookies back that were in Trout Brook a long time ago and don't seem to be there anymore?
That's a great, I can run with that one.
Yeah.
So, that would be an ideal situation here. I was actually thinking today, we had the Vermont Fish and Wildlife biologist come and do some really quick surveys in there and didn't find any trout. We are going to try to look some more because those weren't really efficient, they were just kind of poking around, and we can do a much better job of that. And we are partners with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the state can do that, so that's on our plan if we're going to move forward, is to find that out. Another option that we could have is potentially see, and I don't know if they would, but we'd see if the state could stock it after we do this. It might be more attractive to do that if there's not a big barrier right in the stream. I mean, it would be really cool to turn Trout Brook back into a really high-quality trout fishery. The warming of the water in that pond is probably one of the problems of why there isn't fish there. It might not be the only one. I can't promise that taking this out will restore that fishery. We need more information, but it'd be a great outcome, definitely, as well. One of the reasons we're interested.
Thank you.
There are some rookies in
Oh,
Yeah, not very many.
there. Not very many, but there are
Not
some.
like,
That's good.
certainly not like there were.
Below
No.
the dam or above the dam?
Below.
Below. They hit the dam and then they go, damn.
Yeah.
Another thing we've talked about when we were scoping this is looking at some of the road stream crossings there, which can also be barriers. The ones we saw didn't look like they were at this point, but we could scope that in the feasibility study to look at, a broader site than just the dam itself to try to answer some of those questions.
We have some of the culverts along the access road on the way up.
Will this affect the water supply for,
I don't know. I mean, that's one
That's
thing.
one of the things I
I'm not a
wanna look at.
hydrologist, so, the other question I'm worried about is we have existing water line comes off a well too, that's pretty close to the abutment of the dam on the well side, that's pretty close to that. I'm just worried about vibration or anything that might.
And that would be part of the feasibility study, is to include a water supply, include engineers into that water supply process to identify that. I will say what would affect the water supply potentially is that dam failing on it. So that dam's not being repaired and it is abandoned and it is starting to seep, so water is coming out of the concrete. If that dam goes on its own, that could impact your water supply too, with the amount of sediment that's behind that dam releasing. So that's a concern on its own. But certainly part of this feasibility study, and then if we were to move into design, would be getting those, we wouldn't obviously want to do anything that would impact the water supply. So including that in part of the design.
does anybody know when this dam was built and what was the purpose of it?
It was the water.
It's in here somewhere.
That dam was supplying the village water.
That's why it was built, okay,
And I'm guessing like in the,
yeah.
40?
no, more than that, I think it was like in the 20s or 30s.
I thought we had a water tower.
But that's where the water
Yeah.
came from.
Oh.
Yeah, they're saying 20 was built and it was used until the 40s.
They hired a bunch of people that built that, now big mound of dirt that's between that,
Right, right.
that came from that pond.
So that pond would be dry if the dam is gone.
There'd just be a.
It would be
Brook,
a,
right,
would be a
brook through it.
river.
The brook above it's what, maybe a couple feet wide and maybe a foot or two deep.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be like a wetland swamp kind of deal. Be more forest.
I think there's a series of spring seeps that feed into the tributary there. So yes, I think you would still have a wetland complex because you have, just like a flatter portion of gradient where that tributary moves through. So the alder swamp above, I think, would still be there, and I think actually there's an opportunity. So with dam removals, if this were to, ultimately be a dam removal, it's typical to remove the sediment that's impounded behind the dam to an extent, because we don't want that massive flush of sediment going downstream. But we do want some of that sediment going downstream because that's natural and that's healthy for the system to have sediment. So we would basically remove a portion of the impounded sediment behind that stream or behind that dam and identify what the historic channel was, and you can do that with probing, and Lauren has a big rich engineering history of this, but you can find the old, basically the old cobble and substrate of the river channel and identify that as the pilot channel so that when you remove the dam, you can reconnect the river to that old channel. But then a portion of the wetlands on either side, we would restore those with native plantings. And so yes, I think there would still be a wetland there to some extent.
But that would be during the feasibility study, because I think we met that day. It was like one of the pros and cons of losing a possible area like that, but I guess gaining the river or vice versa,
Right.
keeping the way it is.
And we can scope that study to very clearly look at those and show those cost benefits.
Well, I think I would like to see a feasibility study.
I would too.
And if folks are taking the time to do that, I think it'd be something worthwhile. And it comes out with the result that that dam should be gone, and we'll look at all the pros and cons and talk about it then. But yeah, I'd like no more information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything else you want to make sure that we do look at in that feasibility study scope? So we've got obviously the wells and the water supply. We've got maybe trying to figure out where the pilot channel might have been. I think those are the two main things that come up, and if fisheries could be restored, I'm not
Do
sure.
we
if
need to change the culvert in that access road? I know you talked about
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
That culvert. Yeah.
The culverts and potential fish stocking, that would really be feasible to say that's just a no.
Yeah, and water quality would be the main concern.
Yeah.
Other than that, just environmental impact, I guess.
That's awesome.
Great.
And I just wanted to call your attention to it, as Lauren had here. So if this dam were to come out, we're potentially reconnecting 5 miles of river, which is pretty significant. So yeah, we don't have funding beyond we do have some funding that we can access for a feasibility study, so we can get right on that with a letter of support from you guys. But we will, and then we'll share that with you, and it's a partnership, so working together to do this. And if you ask us to go to the next step or support that, and we all decide that's a good thing, then we would seek that funding. So we do have to seek that funding at every step of the way.
And then I'll say, it was my job to draft a letter of support, and I didn't do that today, so I can email that to you all, and you can review that at your next meeting if that feels good, and then if you want to sign and send it back to us. That would be-
Sounds good.
And as a total aside, I know that the Upper Missisquoi and Trout River Wild and Scenic Grant that the town got is being talked about tonight, so I just wanted to mention, the Franklin County Conservation District along with the Enosburg Conservation Commission also got a grant to do a sustainable angling workshop in Enosburg this year. So you'll probably hear some stuff about that too coming up. We've got a bunch of the partners from Fish and Wildlife and Trout Unlimited hoping to come, and that's totally unrelated to the dam, but that might be interested in that. Yeah. All right, so I'll draft a letter and send it to John or Abby, maybe both. Okay, wonderful. And yeah, if anything else comes up, I think you guys have our contact information too, so if you, what about this other thing we want to know about, please do send that our way and we'll incorporate it.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Hey Sam, do you have a modification? Brent is here with a variance of request, and I gave John the wrong date, so if we could sneak Brent in there. 7 o'clock's not here yet, so if we have
We got time.
minutes to
Sneak
sneak Brent in, and that was my bad.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
You guys,
Yeah.
thank you for your time.
Good night.
All right, so what do we have for the Lions request?
Okay, so I'll make it quick. John called me back and I know that you approved us doing plaques in the park. What we would do, we paid for the roof over the bandstand. So we want to put a Lions plaque. If you're looking at the bandstand on the post on the left side. And then the benches are kind of another thing. We know there's 8 benches in the park. We're not sure, and I don't know if you would know, if we purchased all 8 or if we only purchased part of them. So,
I believe, I was secretary at that time,
good.
and I
That
believe
was
we purchased, I think it's 6,
6.
I believe.
That's what Tim Stetson seemed to think.
Yeah,
So, with that said, and I will trust your memory, then we would put plaques on 6 of the 8. Does that work?
Yeah. Put them on all 8.
Right? Are you okay?
Make up something for the last two.
Are you
I don't think
okay?
anybody's gonna say
You're
that.
okay if,
Again,
okay.
just the other 2, like, was,
So would be okay if we did it on all 8?
That's hard to me.
I mean, we don't want to overstep, but it would,
Well, we've not had too many people lining up saying, hey, can we put a plaque
can
on
we
the
put a
bench?
plaque? So I'm gonna
And then
send
they'll
Lines are
match,
done.
so to
Right,
speak.
Put a plaque on.
So I'm gonna send this around. The top one, ignore the bottom one. The top one would be for the bandstand. Obviously, what's on here is not exactly what it would say. It would say Enosburg Lions or, and the dimensions are 7.5 by 7 1/8. And then the bottom one, we measured the benches. And it would fit sort of right in the middle. It's a 2 by 5. And obviously the wording would be different, but we just wanted to give you an idea.
I got a question on the roof. I know we did a roof a couple years ago, or a year ago.
Oh,
4 years, was it 4 years ago? Sorry, 4 years ago. I put a brand new roof on it 4 years ago.
oh, so we would not take credit then because we did the original, but this
Yeah.
is not the
All new.
original.
It's all new, yeah.
Well,
I'll
thank you.
take credit for that. You
I put Seth Hungerford all
told all
over
careers in
it.
the construction
Yeah.
technology.
Okay, that's really
Yeah.
good to know because that wouldn't be okay for us to put our name on it.
We did.
How does the post that you are contemplating putting the plaque on, how does that interact with the railing?
New lighting,
It's-
really?
They
Is
just,
the railing
It's a-
separate
It's a moot
from the
point,
post?
yeah,
but it's a moot point now.
because
We
the
removed
Coal
it.
Hall Career
Because
Center
we're not
redid
going
the
to
roof.
take the credit because they put the newest one on.
Okay. Well, it's such a lovely plaque.
So it's all about Seth Hungerford. Well, I'm glad to know that, because that wouldn't have been all right.
2018.
Yeah, 4 years ago? That's-
18,
boy,
was
time
before
flies.
COVID.
And I probably should have realized that.
Who built the original structure?
Yeah.
Structure.
Oh,
They did the structure. Because that was, Art did that with the construction program. Back when I was here.
so we did the structure, but you did the roof, so it probably wouldn't,
You can self-credit for it. I'm not-
well, no, I'm not sure you should.
Well, I mean, if the Lions paid for the original
Structure,
structure,
yeah.
like, yeah, there's upkeep
There's
involved,
upkeep on it,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, I mean, you did the structure, I didn't
Right.
say we did the structure, not the roof.
Okay, so you're all right with that then?
Just say original structure.
I just wanna make sure you feel, that those are okay. I mean, obviously, they're not going to say what that says, but.
the local one's good.
Yeah, nice looking plaque.
yeah.
So when we did the
We'll go see
newest
them when they
roof,
have the park.
did we do away with the stairs in the front at the same
No,
time?
that was already gone. They were gone when I got here in 2016, so I don't
Did you do
know.
those? You didn't get rid of them? We were trying to figure out what the
That was
reasoning
before
behind
me.
that.
I called, just to let you know, I emailed Round Hill Fence in Enosburg this morning and asked them if they would come to Enosburg for EBA and look the PVC pipe or plumbing or whatever the railing is made out of, to look that over and get a quote to see the feasibility of replacing that railing with one that will coincide with and slightly match the fence that's around the doughboy. And I still think the stairs and putting the stairs back in the front is a wonderful idea. But I don't know when they'll show up, but they're usually quite prompt, so I can let you know, John, and you can come and be in the park when he shows up. They're usually, I tried to go with the company that put the fence around the doughboy, but I've completely given up waiting for people who don't ever answer phone calls and emails.
Okay, well, so what we'll do is, you know how when somebody paints something and they put their name in the down, we'll put Seth Hungerford. John, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Did you work for Verizon?
Comcast?
Comcast?
and the cable company here.
Yeah, okay. Thank you
He
so much.
was the cable guy.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Brent.
night.
Lindsay's still not here for number.
I'm here.
Maybe.
Sorry, I got
Nope.
nope. talking to my friends.
Perfect timing.
Perfect.
And the entry.
So you're up with the Missisquoi River Basin Association.
Yes. So I'm actually representing both my organizations because they both deal with the river. My name is Lindsay White. I am the director of the Missisquoi River Basin Association and also the Upper Missisquoi and Trout Rivers Wild and Scenic Committee. So they're very interrelated, and I can usually figure out which you all are talking about. So don't hesitate to reach out to me about anything river related. Just to give you guys a little history of the two organizations, the MRBA has been around for 25 years, 25 plus years. We do a lot of different projects all relating to water quality and encouraging people to think about the river and enjoy the river and value the river. We cover the entire Missisquoi Basin, so from Lowell and Orleans County all the way to the lake, although most of our actions are farther upstream. We don't do a lot on the lakefront. We do a lot of river planting. We've worked with towns on their lands. We've worked on road projects. And then we work with any landowner that wants to do anything related to the river. Then we do river cleanups and educational outreach programs in schools or at community events. And gosh, I don't even know how many years ago now, long time ago, almost 20 years ago, some MRBA members said, hey, we should try to get national recognition for our rivers. So thanks to about 10 years of their effort, we did get 46 miles of our river designated on the National Wild and Scenic Rivers System. So that means that we now get federal dollars supporting our actions on the river. And we, this fiscal year that just started last month, we got $210,000 that's written in the federal budget. It comes to us and we get to allocate it as we see fit. We have a committee of representatives of our 8 municipalities. We actually are missing a representative from Enosburg Falls, so if you have anybody you want to appoint, we would love to have another representative. Your representative currently is Mike Manahan, and he's a longtime MRBA member. He was there at the beginning. He's been involved with the Wild and Scenic Committee since the beginning of that program as well. So he knows a lot, and grew up fishing on Missisquoi. So great representative, but again, we'd love to have a second seat for the meetings that Mike can attend. That's one of my do matter things. And then for the MRBA, the main reason I'm here to talk to you guys today is we're just trying to connect better with our municipalities. We want to make sure that we are filling any gaps related to the river. I know that you guys are probably well supported by the town, the NRPC, Franklin County Conservation District. Those are all great partners of ours and we collaborate and communicate, but I want to make sure if there's any ways that the MRBA can further assist you. I am sitting on the Clean Water Service Provider, the Basin Water Quality Council Board, so I will be part of the deciding body of how to spend the state dollars as they come down the pipeline. I would be happy to talk to you guys more about that if you haven't figured out how that's gonna flow. It's still getting established because the law is written, but the guidance is not. Yeah. So again, I would be happy to, you guys can call me up, email me, and I'd be happy to come chat with one of you or all of you about projects that we can seek funding for. Another nice thing is you can partner with different partners and seek funding so that you can do multiple projects instead of just, oh, I can only submit one application. So keep us in mind for that. And then we're trying to get our towns to communicate to each other. You know, the river doesn't respect political boundaries, so we need to make sure that our policies mesh well upstream and downstream. And the best way to do that is come talk to our groups and make sure that we've got an open dialogue. So that's my real reason for being here tonight, is to put a face to my name, get new faces on you guys, and just say I would love to communicate about that river. And we are going to be putting together a river community soiree this probably February or March. We held our first soiree last summer in the headwaters towns. So we invited representatives from our 6 headwaters towns to come have a nice meal, a really beautiful space. We used the Windy River Barn in Westfield, so it was a wedding venue, and they let us use that for our meal. We had a couple of speakers, but it also was just a way to sort of get informal conversations and get our select board members talking across town boundaries and get our planning commissions doing the same. So we will be doing that again, based in the mid-Missisquoi region, and it will probably be in Enosburg, because you guys are the biggest of our towns here and the most centrally located. So watch for that invite, and we will be encouraging folks to attend and enjoy each other and us and a meal. That's my spiel. And then I want to spend some of tonight listening to you guys and your thoughts about the river. I do have some prompt questions, but I also want to open it up if you guys just have, oh, this is something that we were just talking to those guys about, but related to the river or anything like that. Would love to just hear how you guys think about the Missisquoi River and what it does to your group and your constituents.
So do you help with bridges that cross over the river?
Yeah, and as much as we can. Yep.
We actually just were awarded a grant through Whimsy for the Bridge of Flower and Lights, so we can kind of revamp the entryway to it and some historical plaques that we had talked about, so we'll discuss that further, but we just found out last week we were awarded that grant.
I was referring to Bridge 50.
I know, but I was trying to make this positive, Leonard.
Okay.
But speaking of bridges of the Bridge of Flowers and Lights, I know like some community members have raised like the question about like opening the whole thing up, and we know that that would take some work.
And
dollars.
It's kind of a work area. I mean, we got a lot of equipment there. And people.
Right, but it's feasible to maintain a work area and have it be open. It's kind of, we haven't really explored.
Sure,
that
it wouldn't
with
be
other
an
things.
easy project, but it would, I think if it's anywhere at all possible in any way, I think that it would be pretty good.
Because all the railings that are on the other side are all lead-based paint, would have to be all cleaned off, and plus we have that, we got all that. Because the rake is backwards, it was supposed to be designed so you could take the leaves and dump it in the river and let it go. Now we have to actually load it out, especially this time of year, we're loading it out once, twice a week, leaves and debris. So we have a backhoe in there, we have trucks, kind of hard
Yeah,
to.
so it's not like, it's something that's kind of like been wondered about, it's such a huge undertaking that we haven't spent time exploring.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something that we could help you guys explore. I have my hours, and I know that you guys have other demands on your time, whereas I spend 40 hours a week doing river-related stuff, more than that often, but, so I would happily start looking into that and seeing what sort of.
There's definitely
What's the feasibility?
been a lot of interest in utilizing the bridge more, and hence why we went for this grant, but especially after our open house and just collaborating more with community members. It's a topic that continuously keeps coming up.
It's an incredible asset.
It is, and it's very underutilized, so.
So does your organization deal strictly with Missisquoi or streams?
Streams, yeah, the entire watershed. So
Okay.
yeah, all the water bodies that are within this huge.
So we just had a conversation about our Trout Brook Dam and maybe removing that and getting a feasibility study for that.
Yeah.
Would there be potentially any funding available if the feasibility study comes back to suggest that we should take that dam out?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's so, Karina and Ben and Lauren that you guys were speaking to, they know all the same funding sources I do, but I would be happy to apply on behalf of you guys, or if you need a representative. I just heard today there's going to be $1 million coming through the state for dam removal projects for the next year. They just had, I think it was 600,000 just got put out. So it's an up and coming desire by funders, I guess, is to do these sorts of projects. So yeah, it wouldn't be hard to put together that funding. Ben can tap into different sources through the Nature Conservancy. Karina can tap into sources through her position as well. And then Lauren and I can both tap into whatever we can find as well. So.
It sounds promising.
Yeah, it's a good time to be, which is why we're discussing dam removals. It's a good time to be doing it because there's a lot of attention being paid to removing barriers for fish passage, Also just the sediment that builds up behind them, and I'm sure you guys know about the phosphorus problem we have, so there's certainly a variety of fundings, and I think even the clean water service provider dollars that are going to be doing a lot of our, that are going to be funding a lot of our water quality projects are things that could be used in some instances for dam removal projects.
Now, how about stormwater runoff?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've done that small scale with putting in rain gardens, and we've done it larger scale with doing stone lined ditches and working on improving culverts so that there's no backups and things like that. We haven't done any of the like the storm drain stuff personally, but we know the players who do, and can certainly.
Well, we're in the MRGP, so we go Bethany to that, so we got mostly storm drain catch basin. We have very little ditches. It's mostly, we're pretty much compliant except for a couple culverts on Cisco Street, which we're going to take care of. They're undersized.
Wasn't the Opera House thinking about doing
I've been thinking that for 3-4 years.
Right. A rain catch basin garden?
Well, that was part of the Vital Village, was a rain garden.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, we put one in the Richford High School. I think that's the only one that we've done in Franklin County, but we've got a couple in Orleans County as well.
There's a lot in Burlington. I've done quite a few in Burlington, down in Burlington, down in some areas, that whole College Street and that kind of stuff.
I wonder if the Opera House would be interested in hearing about
I would think they
the
would.
Cisco River Basin Association.
I actually spoke to a couple of them last night, just sort of informally. So I was at the Enosburg Select Board meeting, and they were there as well. So I chatted with a couple of them. So I'll follow up and put that bug in their ear. It's fun to put in rain gardens, and that's a very good community project because you get flowers and you get water quality and you get volunteer labor, get the kids involved.
Rain garden.
Yeah, it does make a difference on all these projects if there's funding available, so.
Yeah.
You know, you can talk about things forever, but the money's not there.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about being in the Missisquoi. There's a lot of attention paid to the problems that we have. You know, a lot of our watershed accumulates all that phosphorus. It's causing blue-green algae in the bay, and so people are aware that we need to bring that down and do all the projects that we can. That's the other nice thing about having this wild and scenic designation. We're the only river designated in the state of Vermont, which doesn't mean we get any more funding. All the rivers get the same amount of funding in that federal budget, but it does mean that we are the only river that can apply for certain pockets of federal money. We have assistance through the National Park Service. They're our partner in overseeing the river, and we can get technical assistance from them, so they have expertise we can tap into, but also there are certain funding pools that we can tap into. We did a big bank stabilization project in Westfield with federal dollars, cost the landowner no money, and we were able to pull that off. It like everything takes some planning. I think it took us 2.5 years to actually pull that off, and only part of that was because of the start of the pandemic, but it's nice to have that access for sure.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, well, it was very nice meeting you.
Yeah, thank you guys for
Nice
letting
to
me
know
join you tonight. And
who you are.
Yeah, yeah.
Just reading your name.
Right, yeah, so, again, reach out to me anytime you want. I just got my contact info, and I look forward to seeing that grant come to fruition, and look forward to partnering with you guys more in the future.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds very
Good
interesting.
night.
Stay warm.
Yeah, it's actually pleasant right now, but it's not gonna stay that way for a while.
All right, up next, Coal Hall Career Center water allocation.
Sam, do I need to recuse myself since that's my employer?
You Coal Hall?
No, but, well,
It's technically the SU is putting in the request and Heather's employee.
I don't work for Coal Hollow in any capacity, but I do work for Franklin Northeast.
If you think you need to.
Doesn't hurt anything, too.
Right.
When you're not short.
Right, you're not, probably not gonna be short of both.
Okay, I'll just recuse myself so there's no questions.
Okay. All right, so what do we got?
Saw it in here somewhere.
I know, I saw it too.
It's page, the second page, just flip,
The backside of,
and then you got Gary's letter on the back side of the letter from Morgan.
7 wastewater and water allocations. Oh, for Sugar House.
That's based on 6 months.
It's what?
That's based on 6 months, not the whole year. If it went the whole year, it'd be 14.
Yeah.
So is that where the barn was?
Yes.
So why so many allocations, just because of the RO?
It's the volume of water that they're looking to process.
Okay.
3,000 gallons per day. So an allocation is 2 tons, it's dividing the two out.
Well, 3,000 gallons per time of boil, not per every day. Yeah.
Right.
But it's hard.
Yeah, and I know it's hard. And we've had this
conversation.
Yeah.
And,
Tomato.
Yeah, exactly.
Seth's been very accommodating. There are some concerns on our behalf with some of the parameters, the strength, the BODs and stuff, phosphorus and pH. So during this coming season, they've agreed to do some testing, to get some preliminary numbers to see make sure that they all meet our ordinance requirements. They're not going to be exactly the same numbers as when they get into there, so they're going to continue that testing into their first year as well. But those conditions would be applied to that as well.
And then on the state side, they're looking at it more of a, I'm trying to use the correct words, not at a practicality standpoint. They're looking at it as if we have a huge spill, what's going to happen? And it's like, well, if we have a huge spill, we're not doing. Coal Hollow's not doing their job of producing syrup, I mean, if we're dumping large amounts, or even raw sap down the drain where, it's gonna affect them later on. We don't want that, because obviously the Career Center's not making money, or the program's not making money, so, but that thing, we're not doing our job. So, obviously we're gonna go through what we need to do if we have a spill or something like that, but, we're, like I said, run test numbers of when we do our rinse of the RO and what our RO with water contains for pH levels and phosphorus and all that other stuff, like what we're going to be sending down to the drain potentially when we do our acid rinse and our rig, what that looks like, what our sap test and what that actually looks like, if some of that went down the drain, like what, just anything we can know that might be going down later on. It may be a very small amount, but what potentially could, and some of the sugar levels is probably not going to be more than what comes out of a house when you're making maple candy, or anything like that, so.
Well, you want to keep the sugar on the inside of the sugar.
Exactly, we're not trying to put it down the drain.
Not very profitable.
Not very profitable, so.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. We have the capacity, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I mean, most of it's gonna be permeate anyway, right?
Yes.
Just acid wash and then
Yeah.
rinse, so mostly water.
Yeah, I don't foresee us using a lot of the village water. A lot of it's gonna be what we bring in to your system.
Right, exactly. Yep, okay.
And there was conversations with Josh Goss as well, that it might be that they have to put in like an equalization tank or something to let this stuff sort of stabilize before they.
Test numbers.
And again, that'll be explored down the road, but.
Does temperature affect that at all?
We have limits, but I don't see temperature being anything that they're gonna be close to at all. I think it's like 130 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right.
And then the hot water we're gonna be capturing to be able to reuse anyways, we're not gonna be letting that.
You have a steam way or just
He's looking at purchasing possibly a new rig, so I can't speak to what. Right now he has just a back pan, so it doesn't have a steam way.
Yeah, well, I don't see an issue with that.
184 Missisquoi, is that at the Volk Center?
Yeah, it's a career.
That's where you want to build the sugar house?
Yep.
Yeah.
At the Volk Center?
Yep. Right where the bread barn used to be located.
Percy's going, that's a good idea.
So that's where that would go.
Yeah.
It's going to go. Hopefully go.
Is
Going to go.
Sugarwood still at Hannibal's?
So right now, the Sugarwoods is still at Hannibal's. He has a 1 year remaining on his lease, and then he's gonna everything's gonna be removed from there, and he's gonna be tapping up at the woodlot on 105.
How are you getting it?
How's he getting what there?
South.
He's gonna truck it down from there to the sugar house in a 1,000-gallon tank behind the dump truck and probably on the flatbed. That's his plan. It's not a hard commute. It's not like hauling it from Hannibal State.
Right, that
Which would be a
that
little
would be
bit more,
difficult.
we're probably 3.5 miles, 2.5 miles from there to here, so.
Good main road.
Good main road, the road up there is not bad either, so.
Well, I'll hear a motion to accept these allocations.
I'll second it.
You have the first, Sandy have the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. All right.
Do you have any other questions about the Sugar House project while I'm here?
I mean, like, when do we get our
Yes.
stuff?
What color is it gonna be?
We're looking to have a,
Syrup's kind of brown.
it's kind of a hazy thing, we're looking at doing a bluish roof, like a grayish siding in white trim, kind of the Cold Harbor Career Center colors, so, not like a, I'm gonna say French blue, not a bright blue, like a subtle blue, that's what we're looking at.
Something attractive.
Yes, yeah.
I'm trying to think, where exactly would the Sugar House be? I don't remember there being a whole lot of room up there.
No, where the Red Barn was.
Sort of that red barn.
Right behind the house.
Oh, yeah.
Right where the Red Barn
okay.
was. The Red Barn's gone, so
Yep.
that's why I say was.
All right.
Right where the Red Barn was.
Sort of gonna be the new barn.
Yes, exactly.
Is that house still being used by rec?
Right now it's being used by the SU. I can't speak to what's exactly going on in there, because I'm not.
I just hope we don't tear that down like the barn.
It's currently being put to very good use.
Oh, it's got a beautiful
Wish you
interior.
had more parking areas
Yeah.
for kids.
The interior needs a little.
I think you should just
Most
have no
other places
parking over
do.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either one or none.
Yeah, because it's awful during winter time.
It needs
Wow.
space.
Oh, it wouldn't come anytime.
Yeah.
Trying to drive through there from Royal Park is nearly impossible if you need another car.
How big is the Sugar House?
Footprint is like 52 by 52,
That's good
What's the
size.
size of a sugar house?
about 2,000 square feet.
How big's the rig? Yeah.
He's going with a 3 or 4 by 14, something along that size. Natural gas, because it comes right by there.
Natural gas.
Yep. There's a few out in the Midwest that people that, I know Dominion Rim and CDL both have them out there. They're just, not many people have natural gas going by the Sugar House, but out
Right.
west, in the western states, they have them more available than obviously here in the Green Mountains, so.
Must be one of the first, if not the first
I
natural.
thought
gas
Harrison's was natural, I think Harrison's natural gas. No?
Oh, makes a good talking point.
Is it the first one?
Probably will be. I am not sure, I'm gonna probably guess it probably will be. And we're probably one of the first ones that's ever hitched up to the municipality, so.
Yeah.
So.
Montpelier can't have all the firsts.
No, there's not a lot of information out there, so, no, I mean, it's, probably larger than what we need, but it's also, so if he has field, trips from elementary schools and stuff like that, you can fit large volumes of students in there and still be productive and safe and all that at the same time, or in the RO room, when his students are in there, he can have 5, 6, 7 in there and still show them what's going on and not be
Yeah.
like sardines, it's bigger than what it probably needs to be, but it's, again, to accommodate.
I've never seen a Sugar House too big. Usually people grow into
Yeah.
it. Right.
Well, he's not in the,
That's what.
Cold Hollow's not in the market of acquiring taps to have produce more syrup, I would say, at the most, he's doing 2,500 taps, if that, it's not like he's gonna try to grow to 10,000, I hope not, but.
So you said.
That's what I say,
Couple
That's
thousand
off the
more
record,
next year,
right?
Couple thousand more the year after.
And the sugar maker knows, it's like, oh, there's one more.
Yeah, exactly.
Just one more.
There's always one more.
Yeah.
Will you have sugar parties for the community?
I'm sure he will have some kind of open house. I can't speak to that because I'm not the one that runs the open house, so, but I would say probably yes.
Well, that's my questions.
And if things haven't changed with the kids making maple syrup, when it first started coming out of the old Cold Hollow, and as we used to call it, it was some of the best syrup I ever had.
Good.
Sold it in my store, couldn't keep it in the store. And one of the reasons that it sold so fast was because of who made it. So I'm sure it's still the same today.
Well, thank you very much for
All right. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good, Ted.
Very
Thank you.
good.
All right, curb cut for 366 Prairie.
I don't, I mean, there's basically, they're not adding curb cut, they basically just relocated the curb cut. They just relocated the curb cut on, you know, that parking lot, they basically just moved it for
I
the
guess
end.
just brought it funny, just to make sure.
Right,
Kinda-
it really didn't, they're not adding a curb cut, they're just basically taking the curb cut they had, getting rid of it, and moving the curb cut over to utilize their parking lot.
Because they moved the pole, right?
Yeah, you're gonna put, so the cars can park, you know, both ways, because before it was all on one side.
And they gained some spaces, I think, when they did
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it's not really, they're not really adding a curb cut, they're just basically relocating their curb cut.
It's kind of formality.
Yeah.
And the big dig is all done. All
Yes.
set
Big
and
dig
done.
is done finally.
Everything's good. Pressure's good.
Finally, well, it had a bad gate valve.
Oh, really? Is restricting too much?
It was, when you pumped up the 200 pounds, it was pushing the water back into our main, so it wasn't holding pressure. That was a nightmare, basically.
Yeah, you know. It's a lot
Sewer,
of,
water,
a lot of
everything.
curveballs.
It's over, everybody's awake now.
Yeah, we're good now, that's good. Move-in day was Friday for the SU?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't
There's
think,
some of them in there
They
now.
have,
Why?
I don't think you got seal, have they?
have a conditional
Oh,
CO, I guess, from the fire marshal to be in. I know a bunch of their vehicles were there Friday, and I think they're starting to move some stuff there.
Yeah, I saw moving trucks and
There's
stuff.
lots moved in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
I know
One
water-
wing is-
Bees Flowers is now completely filled with filing cabinets. She couldn't move in if she wanted to.
Oh, Bees is going out front.
Yep,
Oh.
if she can ever get in. I was in there this afternoon and it was like, oh my God. It looked pretty.
I know they haven't put the water meters in yet. I mean, they're using up their old water right now, but they haven't connected to the new water system yet.
And that, so new water is just basically for the sprinkler system.
Yeah, you gotta go 6 inches for sprinklers, so they're gonna tap off. We're gonna have 2 meters, 1 meters for the downstairs for the offices, and 9 meters for the other 8 apartments, 7 or 8 apartments upstairs.
It's like a low flow and a high flow.
The one's an inch and a half, one's a 5/8.
Inch and a half is all that's feeding that building?
Inch is 1.5 feet in the building right now. And now it's 6 inches feeding it.
Right. Not a lot of water. All right. Questions on curb cut? All right. Budgets, yay.
not yet.
Wish
Alright,
she started off
Do we
with
have to
one of the easier
vote on
ones.
Yeah.
I started with the easy two. That was intentional, cause, I'm not gonna lie, I started with the general fund. I had a slight panic attack where John talked me off the ledge and decided, okay, we're gonna start with the easy ones, and walked away from it.
Yeah.
Let's do water first. Not a whole lot has changed, obviously, salaries have adjusted a little bit. Anything that's kind of highlighted, gray on yours, those are the big ones that I know are gonna change. But we don't have the numbers until towards the end of the year. Obviously with our insurance renewal, I'm not gonna have that until next month. The accounting, I'll know better when I actually have a call with Ray on Friday, so I plan on asking that. I highlighted fluoride just because we're putting that to a vote this year. That could potentially come out in depreciation, obviously, I won't know. One of the big issues with the water budget is we have not done a rate increase since 2015. It's gonna say Fund 02, Water Fund 02. We have not done a rate increase since 2015, and that last rate increase was 16.3%. A really rough estimate, which I won't have kind of the revenue side completely finalized until I see what our usage was for the year. But right now, we're looking at potentially a 17% increase to cover our expenses. And quite frankly, if we would have done like a 2% increase, 1.5%, 2% every year, then we would be on track and this wouldn't be an issue. So we are looking at a large hit, but quite honestly, not so large that it's out of line with what we've done in the past. And then the hope is, and I know I've talked to you guys about this a little bit, coming up with a regular schedule. So every year you're gonna see a little bit of an increase based on our expenses. It may be 1%, maybe 2%, so we're not doing a 17% increase because that's very noticeable. 1 to 2% is gonna look like a few pennies in everyone's bill. But because we've level funded for almost 10 years now and our expenses have gone up, we're in the situation that we're in. So there really is nothing drastic under capital projects. We have the West Berkshire line replacement, the engineering. I believe Wayne was gonna try to start it this year, but most likely the engineering's gonna happen next year. And my guess is we won't be looking at the replacement until 2024, just the way that the timeline is currently going.
Well, wouldn't hurt to have some money for that project in pocket for.
I think that's around 120,000, well, it wasn't 120,000,
It's-
there's any more of it.
You're probably gonna be, let's say 150 just to be safe.
Yeah. And we did add, like, the maintenance water line, we added because
Yeah,
every year we put in 10,000, it cost us 14, 15,
Yeah.
so we put it up.
So we increased maintenance of water lines, like Gary just said, from 10,000 to 20,000, and maintenance of wells. That, we don't do maintenance, it's like every third year. So this 2022, we only budgeted 15,000 because we didn't have to do any of our, Gary, what's the word I want?
Redevelopment.
Thank you.
We only used this year, we only used how much in the well? We only used like $5,000, $6,000.
Just shy of 7,000.
Yeah.
So next year we'll do well 2, right?
Yes, it's coming, yeah.
Well 2 in 2023, well 1 in 2024, and 2025 is kind of our off year.
Skip year.
So that number does fluctuate. Other than that, I mean, our fuel line items went up a little bit. The telephone, we're still kind of finalizing that and figuring some stuff out with the alarm so we can drill that down and make that change. Other than that,
Most of my stuff is pretty much the same except for a little bit.
Yeah. It's probably the most.
I mean, fluoride is ridiculous. I mean, it used to cost us $69 a bag before COVID, and $161 a bag.
I was just about to ask about
But
that.
that was a typo.
was
Sorry,
like,
I just
is
saw
that
that.
I looked
I
at
was like, wait a minute.
So
Probably not.
in-
Not
in-
Totally right.
In a
1,161,
bag
it's
goes
just
about a month,
161.
a little bit, a little shy of a month, so.
It's how much a bag again?
161.
161.
$161 a bag, plus a little bit of handling fees, but yeah.
$1,500 a week.
So I'm
Compared to $69
sure,
a bag.
I'm sure you guys noticed too, I didn't do the binders. If anybody's really heartbroken that you aren't getting a binder, I'll give you a binder, but I didn't like the binder, sorry.
Okay, well, if I lose stuff, then it's your fault.
We're gonna end up redoing it the next time anyway.
I can bring my whole
I got
lunch
your
then,
back,
we can,
Sam,
you know,
I got
do
your
some
back.
amendments.
There are just an attachment, the $589 is just a piece of equipment that, we need to purchase for next year. And then the Weston and Sampson is for the well redevelopment.
What is that testing thing? Just test the
Chlorine.
Can we just take it to Bates?
How do we do it now?
Yeah, we have it, no, it's
They say they
very
do.
low.
You're right.
If one goes down, I like to keep the old one for emergencies and put a new one in. It's basically, you get a test of total and your free chlorine every morning. And then I got to test it every month to Endyne for coliform and all that stuff. We got to test it every day, so that piece of equipment's used every day.
Only
Like
costs a couple bags of fluoride.
Yeah.
Which we, might be doing away with anyway.
Even with the rough estimate of 17%, and I'm doing that off of what I'm forecasting, which right now water's trending, our revenue should be pretty close to spot on, give or take a little bit. That's only gonna leave us with an operating surplus of $1,000. So it's not like we're really trying to make a huge profit here, but our revenue needs to cover our expenses, and we haven't been,
I don't think so the venue would be in the black in the water department.
It's-
We're 20,000 in the hole, or 10, we're.
averages from 10 to 25,000 typically is what we're running in the negative every year, and the thought process before was use your
Like 1
savings
year,
account
I
to
think,
cover
maybe.
it, use your savings account to cover it, but then you're depleting your savings account and not replenishing it, so, don't have to make any decisions on this tonight, but this is where we're at with the water department, and
we are where we are.
like I said, this year is gonna be a hit to get us to where we should be. And then every year, I can't imagine we're gonna look more than 3%. 3% will probably be high in future years to come, but.
Should get on a regular schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely need
Mrs.
that.
Swan does that.
So, yeah, I
Just to match
chatted,
the inflation rate.
Yeah.
I chatted with Lynn, so I was like, well, do you guys have a schedule? And they don't have a schedule per se. She literally, this is what we need to cover our expenses, and that's whatever increase that is what they put through every year. And realistically, that's kind of what we should be doing. So I don't wanna say a set, we're gonna do 2% every year, but I have a feeling we'll fall 0.5%, 1%, up to 3% most likely every year. So.
What do we have for operating reserves right now in that account?
So they're well,
32,001.
yeah, just for water replacement for pretty much anything that they need is about 32,000. For well maintenance, there's like $300. And then there's a PTO liability we have to carry for the auditors, but it's, yeah,
Lower than.
it's
50.
very depleted at this point in time, considering what the
Oh,
cost would be
we-
if we had to replace a well or do
Right.
something.
I mean, we were always taking money out of that savings to balance our budget the last 2-3 years.
And my thought process anyway would be that
Yeah.
if we do have an operating surplus moving forward, whatever that figure is, so say 2022 we end up with a $12,000 surplus, that will then get moved to the savings account. Obviously, with your guys' permission to do that, but that's my
That's the
opinion
smart way
of
to
how
do
it
it,
should
yeah.
And the
be.
savings account isn't tied to any particular thing, it's just kind of there to be used for whatever is needed.
There's one kind of general, the way it's set up, there's one that's pretty general that could be used for anything, and then there's a specific one for well maintenance, so if we had something, we got struck by lightning again, you know, $7, $8, $9, $10,000, because that's not a budget, something you're gonna budget for, you would normally take that out of your savings. Right now, there's less than $300 in that account.
Guess it's time we get some back in.
Yep, and you guys could kind of choose which account, do you want it in the general one or specific for the
Our
wells?
VFD getting
So,
complained a couple years ago, and it cost us like $3 or $4 grand, wasn't it?
almost
So
7.
almost that, I can't remember.
If it's in the general, can you use
I
that
mean,
money for well
general, like
maintenance?
general well maintenance, or general, well, not the general fund, sorry, that wasn't the right term, but, because he has 2 savings accounts.
Right, so if we put it in the more like broad one, you can still use it for this, the
I would say
specific
yes, there's
savings.
nothing specific on that, yep.
I think that would be the way to do it.
That makes a lot of sense.
So, yeah, in my opinion, that's how we should be operating. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep depleting the savings account and then have nothing.
Well,
And no plan to.
eventually
replenish
that's
it.
exactly what it'll be, nothing, so we can't do that.
This also factors in actually putting $10,000 into it. If you look down near the bottom, it's just a change in the fund balance, so that's gonna kind of come out of the, just our operating expenses. Essentially, it's not really a budget line item, but to make that transfer, and then above and beyond that would be if there's an operating surplus. 'Cause that's something all of the departments have expressed, is having kind of that savings plan to build that up for any of these huge capital expenses.
Right, and seems like half the problem with that is we don't know what a good baseline for savings needs to be, you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
in the water fund, how much do we need? 400,000?
Well, it depends on how many water line you replace.
Right,
You know?
right. But it's a lot different than like the electric department, like how much do we need in that per se?
You don't want to know that either.
I mean, you look at it, we have probably, what, 2 or 3 million in water replacement on Main Street if we did the
Yeah,
whole project
I
from
mean-
here all the way up to Jimmy's, would be probably $2 million, if not more.
We'll never probably get to that right dollar amount of what we actually need, but we need to be doing something proactively.
Certainly can be closer than we are now.
Yeah.
Correct.
A little more than 32,000.
So that's water in a nutshell, nothing really drastic. Gary said he'd donate his pay if we needed him to.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Team player.
I go to welfare. Probably look better.
Yeah.
So right now, unless anything drastic changes, I don't plan on showing this one to you guys again until end of December, first meeting in January, once I have the better revenue number, and then we can vote at that point. And so,
I was wondering about that, when is there a schedule on when we have to vote, like after January 1st before town meeting, or is it just kind of?
For these funds, it's kind of whenever, I mean, if I have a number that I'm really comfortable with showing to you guys for the revenue at our last meeting in December, if we have that meeting, I'm gonna show it to you then. If not, that first meeting in January, we'll probably have this one water and maybe the electric.
Yeah.
But,
Okay, well, hold on to this, I'll try not to lose it. Doesn't have
if
three
you
holes in
do,
it.
it's okay.
I'll fix it for you, Sam.
Because you're gonna get a new update the next time we meet anyway. Alright, wastewater. Kind of the same deal, a lot of similar things. Insurances, I don't have, these are estimates that are probably a little bit high. A telephone, we're working on finalizing that. Accounting, maintenance contracts. Again, I don't usually get those solid figures from like Harris and a couple other of our contracts until the end of the year. So we'll have that. And the depreciation, nothing really drastic
Capital project.
for changes. Capital projects, we have replacing the floors in the plant, which was gonna be something I was gonna bring up with you guys tonight. Brian's been working with Newton's,
Yep.
correct? And kind of looking for the green light to maybe get that ball rolling with them, just because of their time schedule. This winter is gonna work for
John
them.
Newton?
So,
Some new carpet in there or something?
they're not saying all the.
Yeah,
He knows
shag
his stuff.
carpet.
Well, I put estimates out for a couple of these projects, and really, they're the only ones that get back to me on the flooring at all. And the mags, you'll see there's some ceiling and pavement repair. Again, they were the only ones, so I kind of only have their numbers to go by. But like you were saying earlier, nobody seems to want to get back to you.
Yeah,
I don't know
but
if
he's-
it's the time of year or.
He's a man of excellent integrity.
Yeah.
It knows his pain.
So just for a little background, those are the original tile floors that are in there, and because of the age of them, we're pretty confident there's asbestos in there, and they're starting to peel. So before it becomes sort of a mandated, you have to spend all this money on
Yeah,
getting rid of them and everything, we'd like to just go over them.
Seal
yep, seal him up.
Be out of, just be done with it.
Wise move.
Yep, and that's probably smart. Because I'm sure we could spend a lot more than 22 grand on the.
Right.
More like
asbestos
22 a
abatement.
foot.
Yeah, ask the armory.
Yeah.
So, I guess, are you guys, if that starts to happen a little bit into this year, are you guys fine with that?
Yep, you
Okay.
buy your money and.
Yeah, they're
Kind
fine.
of would hope like the end of January, early February. It
Like-
seems to work really well with their schedule, and it would work really well with ours. Just, it's kind of a slower time of year for both.
And that point, this budget will be passed and it won't be an issue, but.
Yep.
And the other one was patch and sealing the pavement.
Yeah.
In the driveway.
Yep.
All the main plant essentially, hasn't been sealed at all. I don't think it's ever been sealed. We've had a bunch of piecemeal projects. There's a lot of cracks, a lot of areas that actually have to be dug out and repaved. They're just where big tractor trailers come in and stuff like that. I was only gonna really look at some crucial areas, but the way the numbers came out, that would be basically repairing the entire plant, the sidewalks, the parking, everything.
So how is your savings trending?
So,
Down a little bit over the last couple of years. We've had some pretty major capital projects. And again, one of the things we discussed, we used to put $10,000 a year into our equipment replacement fund, which was pretty significant. Over the last, I couldn't tell you how many years, that was tabled and not done. So I think we're hoping to reestablish that support. for
that's
that.
again added kind of near the bottom. It's not necessarily coming as a budget line item, but he has the operating funds, so it'll just be a change in fund balance, same type of thing. Cause I think your truck replacement fund only has what, like $6,000 in it off
For
the
the
top of my
pickup
head?
truck, yeah.
And then
I think
the
25.
other account is, he's got, for the,
Vac truck.
I think your vac truck one was, it's not that.
That was around
Bring the
25.
Eli, you have the financial report in front of you, right? sorry. I don't remember this off the top of my head.
No, you're gonna ask me.
You're not
So
due for
the
any
sewer, yeah, the sewer truck
Nothing
replacement for the
major.
pickup is 6,300. The vac truck, there's 24,000, and then their sewer equipment replacement has 236,000, but that,
The Troutbrook project's gonna be coming out of that.
which is gonna be around 100?
No, it was around 60.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It
We
came in
redid it.
significantly
That's
more
right.
when we changed some of the
Yep.
configurations.
So, yeah, that's coming out of that, so that's gonna impact that drastically. Last year, we didn't end up doing a transfer out of savings, we just kept it out of the operating budget because there was enough cash flow, because otherwise, their savings account would have been drained by the end of 2023 with the way things were going.
The sewer line on Church and Maple says possible CSO funds. Is that money that we have or money that we're gonna get?
Money that we will be getting, we're not sure the exact amount. I don't believe that that's been carved
We
in
have them
yet.
now, we don't
We kinda have-
whether we can use it, right? And that's it.
Wayne, initially, he's reached out to the state, and their initial response is yes,
Okay.
because it is upstream of our CSO.
Can we do that before Elm? That's what
where
we're
some of
figuring
the-
out?
He has to go back to the state. I've asked Wayne to take this on for me. It got a bigger animal than I was comfortable dealing with, so he has been doing some work for us. And whether that Elm Street project that was identified in our long-term control plan has to be done before that one, or if it can be amended, he is looking into that.
So we get two separate pots of money, coming in essentially for the CSO project that this is speaking to, and that Brian's talking about. We've got $760,000. And then specifically for the Elm Street sewer and water improvements, is it the 760 again? That's where I get confused. Do we get 760 for both?
No, it's 760 for the,
Our portion of the Elm Street, I think, was 160.
yeah.
So maybe it's this 220
You were
that's right here?
740,
Yeah.
I think I was 740 and he was like one something.
Yeah, 1.1.
This is 760, 760. Oh, yeah, sorry. There's
But
another
what
page here,
what I'm
guys.
confused too a little bit is those ARPA funds, because that's what Wayne identified for the Elm Street project, was using the ARPA funds.
Yeah, which is the 1.1.
One.
And so that's
Thank you.
a separate pool of money from the ones that are CSO directed.
Yeah.
760, right?
Yeah.
Which is the 760.
Yeah.
So we basically have a pot of money to try to figure out some projects.
And again, one of the projects identified was an additional 30,000 gallon tank out front to accommodate a heavier storm than what they were originally designed for. In my opinion, and Wayne's opinion as well, and just, you guys should know, I think a priority would be the Church Street project over another tank that we may find we never even use.
Right, because we had a runoff the Halloween storm a few years ago.
Yeah.
But that was
So that's gonna push back.
That's not an ordinary
a 20-year storm at least.
Right, so
So
under
what's-
ordinary conditions, that 30,000 gallon tank should take an event that
It
we're
might be
traditionally
boring.
designed for.
Yeah, and just, it'd be more cost effective for us to pay the runoff fine.
Might be boring.
probably.
There-
Every 20 years.
But it's gonna push off the paving for like Maple Park and that.
Right.
Kind of stupid until we get that all done, to get that.
Yeah, we have to push that. The other ARPA funds, projects that were implemented over there. But wait.
Right. Nope, that makes sense. I'm thinking we should kind of do what Water's doing and then start
I think all of them should probably do something.
a gradual rate increase, even, there's no alarms going off yet, but,
You don't
It'd
want to
be
get to
nice
that
to prevent
point.
them.
But
yeah.
people don't mind a 2%, when you're talking 17, 18%.
I've talked to Wayne Elliott for years about this, and if they teach a class on financial stuff to a municipality, that's exactly what they're teaching. That See what your expenditures are, what your revenues are gonna be, dictate what your small percentage increase should be. And it's gonna be a little one probably every year just based on inflation and people's salaries and.
Everything else does.
Right, so to think that you don't have to make those changes every year just isn't realistic.
Yeah, and, sorry, not coming in late on that, but I debated on this about if we were gonna do an increase for wastewater this year or not. We need the increase. but they also have enough operating reserve that we could get by for another year, because quite honestly, we're gonna be looking at increases on all 4 funds this year.
I mean, what if we just do a little one, like a 3%?
So I threw 6% up there. Part of that is, again, it's early, but we're looking at some adjustments with Franklin Food. Maybe not necessarily to our favor. Could be a bigger adjustment this year. Can't say that for certain until we have the finalized numbers of the audit, but you know, Brian kind of did an estimate to see where we're at, and based on, we don't really have any drastic changes to our load. I mean, Tractor Supply is not really going to do anything much for us. I threw 6% in there because we are kind of trending that we may come in under budget this year, but that's always a possibility where maybe we do 2 or 3%, knowing that we're going to run a deficit, that we can financially cover it for this year, and then 2024 see what the numbers are kind of looking. So again, the 6% is a very rough, throwing it in there, that's on almost break even point. We'd still be running a very small deficit, but
Small deficit with 6%?
just like $1,000. So again, their operating reserves, everything, they're cash heavy enough that we can run a bigger deficit this year, or excuse me, for 2023 if need be.
Right, but then, yeah, I just don't wanna, going back to the whole how much do we have in the savings thing, we got a pot right now, let's try to maintain it, I think.
So we're probably looking at, sorry Heather, like a 5 to 6% to get us to where we should be. And then moving forward, again, it's same as water, might only need 0.5% the next year, 1%, or you know, that, you know, 0.5 to 3% is the target for every year, not doing this, because the last increase was 2016 for 14%.
Yeah, let's try to do something more gradual.
Yeah, the smart quite so much.
Too many of these increases, it's gonna be.
This year's gonna be rough.
It's gonna impact a lot of people very.
2023 is gonna be rough, hence John talking me off the ledge the other day. Cause I was like, what do we do? Because we're looking at all 4.
The only advantage we have is, right now, everybody's mindset is everything's going up, everything costs more.
Because it is.
Well, yeah, right, but at least it's on their radar.
Right, you know, it's not like, oh, the price of everything's going down and you guys wanna raise your rates.
Right.
You know.
And I mean, the numbers show when we post what our budget's gonna be, we're not making a huge profit. Like, it's not like we're out we're just needing to cover our expenses at this point in time.
It's also, you know, I'm talking a 10%, 15% increase all the way across the board. I don't think it's that's gonna, you know, kill a struggling family. It's that and everything else.
Yeah.
in
Put them all together.
Yeah, you know, it's all adding up, you know, your fuel, your food, your taxes, it's all just part of it.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like.
How about gas goes up after tonight?
Or go down.
Yeah.
I just filled up, of course it'll go down.
Right.
Do we wanna do like a 4? I mean, a 6 seems a little.
Do you, not to go against what you're saying, but do you wanna hold off
Yeah, see
and
if
once I get
Should
December,
have
I'll have a
final numbers.
better look on the final numbers, and then
And we'll do what we have to, but not do what we can.
And at that point, I can run a couple of different scenarios, because I can run, here's a 4%, 3%, 4%, 5% increase, here's what our bottom line is gonna look like, and then you can kind of decide from that point based on the number, because I don't see anything drastically changing between now and then. Like I said,
Most of my
the
things are.
insurances will fluctuate a little bit, but,
Yeah,
And you do shop around as much as absolutely possible for all of your insurance, I presume?
that's gonna be a question that I'm gonna have, I don't know how
I
long.
kinda
I've been-
brought that up like last year.
Yeah,
I mean, even private home ownership, you can.
I know
You shop
personally,
around
I
a little bit and all of a
every
sudden you go, what the hell was I paying?
I'm waiting to hear back
The auto-
from
the car
leagues of cities
insurance.
in town, something that actually, in talking with Brian and Ken during this budget process, we're not passive members right now, and we're missing out on a lot of opportunities for certain grants and funding because of that. And the reason I was told that we're not passive members is because they won't insure our hydros. but I know Swanton's passive member, so I've got to kind of figure out, that's kind of my mission right now, is to figure out, is it an all or nothing? Can
Right,
we
just use a
move
different insurance for the electric department.
Yeah, can we move some of it, like how can we do that? Because there's a lot of grants, there's a lot of trainings, there's just a lot of resources.
Equipment.
We're missing out on.
Actually gifted.
Yeah, we're missing out on a lot of opportunities by not being passive members with Leagues of Cities and Towns. So that is on my list of trying to figure that out right now. Any questions?
No, I guess we'll just wait for a more finalized number.
Nobody said you could leave yet.
We got left.
I'm just kidding.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Brian.
set.
Yes, I appreciate you
Thank you,
coming in.
Brian.
Thank you.
All right, manager's report.
So I had to report this.
Short, were you able to get in? Yeah, I forwarded.
So we did get a couple of grants that we spoke to earlier. Abby did apply and got the Bridge of City, Bridge of Lights grant. So we're gonna be beautifying the bridge even more than it is already.
And I just want to add it on that. I did spoken to Brenda Stanley at the library. They have a kids garden club and an adult garden club. So I'm already trying to round up my volunteers for helping with some of these projects, and they're super excited about the opportunity of doing like reading groups and utilizing
We need a
the
donation
bridge.
jar on the bridge.
Utilizing the bridge that's within walking distance, so they're excited about that. And I spoke with, I'm blanking on his name, Sandy, ROTC.
Oh, Manel.
Yes. So I spoke with the lieutenant commander there about maybe utilizing the JROTC kids, and he was like, hey, I'm also the community service coordinator for the high school. So there is an email going out.
And he is one enthusiastic.
About teaming up with some of these kiddos that need to do their community service hours, because I walked over there ripping everything out. It's going to be a little more extensive than what I initially thought. So I'm trying to get as many volunteers as possible. Some EVA members this morning also volunteered to help out, so we'll be minimizing how much I'm calling Ken, which he appreciates.
Yeah, we don't, we're not about pulling weeds, or flowers for that matter.
Sorry, I didn't mean to drive this one.
No, that's fine.
No problem.
And I like the idea. Not our safety officer here, she might have different ideas, but I like the idea of the bridge being open the whole way. I mean, we can definitely keep thinking through how we can do that safely.
And I'm sure it's gonna be expensive, and I'm sure it's gonna take a lot of work, but there has to be a precedent somewhere for it.
And if we can find
It's been
funding
done.
from what Lindsay said, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be that expensive. I mean, it's gonna be fencing, I think.
Well, I think we just need gates, so like
Yeah.
when they're working, block it off.
Right.
Yeah,
If you could just
can't
come
go
up with a
through there
barrier.
today because.
Right, and then, have a gate around the equipment that can be
Yeah.
moved or whatever.
Like the Home Depot,
Just gonna make the
Home Depot
whole
guy
thing
coming
look
through with
good.
the lights.
It'll be so much friendlier.
Flags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the way I think of it is how do you keep it aesthetically looking nice, but put these gates and fences. That's what goes through my brain. How can we do it? Looks nice.
Well, then you have to have aesthetically pleasing fences.
Right.
Exactly.
Look at what we had around the Doughboy, and look what we have around the Doughboy today.
Yeah.
And all of it was done to keep the Doughboy safe. Well, it still is, but it sure looks a lot better.
And then I also got a grant for the EV charger up on Main. I questioned a few folks on that. I don't know if anybody has an opinion. Picked that location because it's right in the village. Power-wise, we don't have to do anything for the charger that we're putting in there. I have a couple of different quotes coming in. We don't have, between the grant and the Efficiency Vermont, the charger shouldn't cost anything, so it's just the time utilities of the guys working on Main. Talking through a bunch of different folks, it sounds like it's, I know Abby mentioned this morning at the EA meeting, but kind of concept, and I don't have an electric car yet, but supposedly it's like a destination thing. A lot of people look up and say, well, there's one in this little village, I've never been there, I'm
Yep.
gonna stop and charge there on my way to Montreal
Card
or whatever.
can't get all the way.
You know, Betsy made me aware, the owner of the hotel made me aware of the fact that there are, well, one of them is actually a club, it's the Tesla Club. And they only investigate hotels that have EV chargers, and that's where they stay. And also on the hotel marketplace that we use, it's becoming a big deal of letting people know that, you know, your place is a place that had, and that's why she put 2 chargers in rather than 1. So I think it's a really good idea, because it's just going to grow.
And it's right in a kind of prime spot for downtown where we want to
Absolutely.
put it, where you're pretty much dead center, so you have all the
You can either
businesses.
be working,
park.
shopping,
Right.
park there, go to church, whatever.
So we're pushing to have it in here before a month or so.
The lines are painted, so if you're driving by, you
Yeah,
can see
we
the
have the
green
lines
line.
green, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
And it's a pay-to-use system,
Right.
right, you said?
yeah. it is a big use. The other part of this, I've seen you pushing my face, lady. Hopefully, again, I don't know what's gonna generate yet, trying to figure that out. But hopefully gonna put a camera up above, looking at the EV charger, and then one shooting down Main Street, kind of our first camera. Kind of in the
And letting
village.
basically letting the people charging their cars pay for our camera.
Exactly.
Good
So,
idea. How nice of them, thank you. all.
yes, they're supporting. So, that's all I had this week.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Your reports are concise and only what they need to be, and we thank you for that.
All right, it'll take an hour and a few minutes.
Yeah. Only said it all once.
Other business.
Rachel Lamore was asking if we had done anything going for the cameras in the village.
Where,
Yep.
Oh, there's a start right there.
There's a start.
They're coming.
We're working
we're
on it.
working on it.
Okay.
We gotta
And she
figure out
knows
the
that,
internet
actually.
and everything.
She was
with
told
this
several
place,
days ago.
I have quick historical society update. Actually had a really good meeting this afternoon with Seth, Hungerford from the Career Center. They are going to put together an estimate for us, so Shirley can present it. We're asked them today. The handles need to be switched out, all the door handles. Going from room to room, there's like a lip or something, so it's not handicap accessible. So to cut those out of the floor. And then the railings need to be ADA compliant and the egress out the back. So he's gonna throw just some numbers together what the cost is gonna look like so the historical board can approve it. And we're looking probably January, February when he will be able to fit us in to do that because they've got some projects going on right now.
And they're not open in the winter anyway.
And that's what we said, because I was kind of like, okay, I know you got the sugar house coming. You need to guarantee me right now that come January, you're not going to blow me off and you're going to do this. He's like, no, we'll get it done. So we had a good conversation there, and Shirley has taken over as president, and I think we've had 3 meetings in 2 weeks, and things are moving. So
Good.
the fire marshal report will be taken care of. They're doing a lot of the electrical stuff. They've got a contractor set up for that.
Is there a lot of grumblings about who's paying for stuff?
Not yet, but I do see it coming. There's even a few comments kind of that have been made. There still seems to be that little like, well, the village owns it. But as I pointed out again today, they signed the lease, and the current lease is that they're responsible for this. So till I get Seth's quote and they see that in front of them, no, but I have a
Maybe.
feeling there's gonna be a little bit of pushback. And the only other update that I wanted to, we applied for a grant for the green to be added to the crosswalks. We did not get it. It was very competitive. She said that they had the most applicants that they've ever had for this funding, so it just didn't meet what they were looking to do this year, so.
There's always another time.
So we'll continue to explore other funding sources, so we'll stay with our white for right now, but we'll keep looking.
I feel like Amy Burr knows of some other grants.
I have a no.
She mentioned a grant to me the other day during the Safe Routes to School meeting, and I was like, I don't know, there's a lot of grants right now. So, yeah, definitely talk to her, because I think there might be another one that project might work for.
Yeah, perfect, that's good to know. I did write down actually a couple of notes. She was one of my contacts I was gonna reach out to if she had any suggestions on a couple other projects as well, so. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Other business?
I have a kind of stupid question. They were talking about taking the dam down. Is that dam of an asset to us that we should have it refixed instead of taken down?
I don't know if we know that until the feasibility study happens, because we don't know if it's impacting
It
our
does
water.
have a release.
Yeah.
We can, whether it works or not, but there is a release valve. We could technically drain a little lot, whatever, right now.
But it sounds like it's just been sitting there decaying.
Yeah.
Is that on?
I was wondering, like, if all that stuff's sitting there, isn't it storing a bunch of phosphorus, and you're gonna let that all go down?
Well, I
Well,
think she
it's
said that they would have a
just
way to do that without overburdening the system. But if it were to
Some big metal
break,
sponges.
then it would go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there would be no stopping it.
Right,
They would be changing those culverts and stuff.
right, yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of getting ahead of it a little bit and being able to manage it.
I'm sure the study will give us a lot of information.
Bubble gum.
Yeah.
We'll just hire somebody to.
The little boy,
Yes.
yes. Just need a little boy.
Here's some community service for you.
You only have to do one project.
All right, other business? Shall we head into executive? All right, I need a motion to head into executive for the purpose of discussing negotiations in which premature public knowledge may compromise the position of the municipality and for personnel.
A second.
Eli first, Heather would second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. All right.
Recording stopped.